no matter what a person looks like on the outside or what their resume says, everyone probably has a little bit of the imposter syndrome at times. And I think it's a human nature thing.
Welcome to Wholly Fractional, the podcast dedicated to elevating the role and success of fractional workers everywhere. I am your host, Andrew Graft, here with my co-host, Todd Hines. Wholly Fractional, the future of work starts here, and it starts now. Welcome to the Wholly Fractional podcast, everyone. I am Andrew Graft here with my behind-the-scenes producer and one-man funky bunch, Todd Hines. Today on Wholly Fractional, we'll be meeting with someone I am so happy to have on the show. She's talented, she's versatile, she's crazy smart. I'm pretty sure she likes puppies. I know she likes St. Louis barbecue. I am, of course, talking about Heather Leek. Heather, welcome to the show. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here, Andrew.
Yes, I've been waiting for this episode forever. Just to kind of give our audience a little background. When any of us start out in the fractional realm like I did, it can feel kind of foreign. I mean, especially if you come from the world of traditional W-2 full-time employment. And I know I was figuring things out, and I was very lucky to meet Heather early on in my journey. And what struck me about Heather from the get-go is that she's very much built to be a fractional. She gets it. She's been there. In a lot of ways, in my mind, she exemplifies what it is to have a successful fractional career. And I will just say that ever since we met, Heather's been really incredibly generous with me in sharing her wisdom. And I thought, well, it doesn't seem fair that only I get to hear that. And so I wanted to bring her on the show today. How's that for an intro, Heather? Is that too much?
My goodness, I feel so great. You're very good for my ego, Andrew.
Since I've been so kind, let's get down to business. Let's start talking some fractionalism. First, let's just start by having you tell us a few basics about yourself. I mean, we'll start easy. Tell us about where'd you grow up? We'll start there.
I grew up in Streeter, Illinois. It's a little farm community about an hour and a half outside of Chicago. It was a place that I didn't want to live. It was a wonderful place to grow up, but not a place that I wanted to live after I went to college because it was a small farm community and there was lots of corn around. So I wanted to do big things. I currently live in Illinois, in Edwardsville, Illinois, right outside of St. Louis.
Tell me, what were you kind of like as a kid? Were you shy and quiet? Were you driven? I mean, what did Heather Leek look like early on in this growing up process?
I came from a family where at the time no one had gone to college. My mom was instrumental in my drive to do greater things. She had a hard life, did many jobs as I was growing up, and there was nothing my mom wouldn't do. And she really just struggled in her career. She wanted me to be able to do better. It was incredibly important for me to go to college. I think I have this work ethic that came from my mom and my dad, and this drive to learn more all the time. I think a lot of it was instilled by my mother and just pushing me so hard. She did push me hard, but I also appreciate and am so thankful that she did that for me because it really foundationally made me who I am today.
It's interesting. I've heard similar stories with a lot of fractionals out there. I think there is some correlation between that childhood where you just didn't have everything and that need to sort of do for yourself and be reliant on yourself that I think has fit this world very much. In terms of your career arc, you've described it to me as portfolio of pivots. And you look at your LinkedIn profile and you're not kidding. I mean, you've been a consultant, an auditor, an analyst, data strategist, RevOps leader. Just for our audience, can you walk us through a little bit of that journey and how it brought you to where you are today?
I love it when you recall the fact that I call it a portfolio of pivots because it is 100% that. But I've taken every single experience that I've had in the work environment and I've leveraged something along the way to make me better. So I started my career at a really difficult time. I was an auditor. It was called a consultant. And I started the week of September 11th. So I did not get the fun start most people do when they go to an accounting firm and you go on a trip and have a lot of fun. It was pretty grindy there in the beginning because there was so much uncertainty. I was there for about 2 years and it was exactly what you expect. I learned a lot. I had great people that I worked with, but that life was not for me. I didn't want to be a partner in a firm, but I loved the consulting side. I really wanted to work at Anheuser-Busch here in St. Louis, Missouri. At the time, it was one of the most incredible places that you could go. And I thought it would just be fascinating to work in a company that was doing such amazing marketing, had such stellar products globally distributed. I thought it would be a wonderful next step. When I went to AB, I did the audit thing for several years, but I found a mentor who coached me into getting my MBA. I already had a master's in accounting and a bachelor's in accounting, but went ahead and got the MBA and I did what she said, what Amy Newman told me. I was able to get into this analytics function and it was amazing. I ended up analyzing every single brand that came out of Anheuser-Busch, and the data was so rich.
And I'm going to jump in and say, from my conversations with you, I have a feeling there may be no one who gets more excited over the presence of data and analysis than you do. Even given the fact that you've done revenue operation, I have a feeling in my heart that analysis is one of your happiest places on earth.
There's nothing that makes me happier than an Excel spreadsheet in life. Like, I love it.
Exactly. So I hear you describe it. And one of the things I've heard from other fractionals, not everyone, but there's a certain subset who have said that they frequently they'll reach a point in each role where they start to feel a little restless and they want to move on to sort of the next thing. At what point did you start to say to yourself, maybe I need to start doing this differently?
The sameness is a problem for me. I left my last company. It was an ag tech company. I stood up a global customer success team. Probably out of all the roles I ever had in my life, the first year in that job was literally the most thrilling because it was so strategic. But it was hard. It was hard, lots of turmoil, not having the results that you expect. So when I left there, I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I want to be. I probably want to get out of agriculture tech. I'd probably like to try something else.
Did you even know what fractional work was at that time?
I had no idea what fractional was. I just knew that I wanted to try some different things. And I had coffee with this person. He was a recruiter. His name is Andy Bell. I had coffee with him one morning. I'd had so many meetings with people, and I was sitting down with Andy and talking about my story. And he's like, "Well, you're trying to get a job. You probably can do way better things just doing your own thing." But I think, to be honest, it's just the confidence. Like, can I go do this thing? Can I sell myself? I'm not classically trained salesperson. I'm the person behind the spreadsheet and stuff. So it's kind of like, can I do this? I think it was just getting the confidence and having a few conversations over coffee to instill that so that I could make the pivot into myself. I want to call it my period of myself because I did deep reflection. I really explored what could make me happy. I did soul searching in my career. Like, everything has been very consultative. All these entrepreneurial experiences are like being a consultant inside a company. I'm like, I can absolutely do this.
Absolutely. No, and there's no doubt about it. Given this breadth of experience that you've done, how would you describe your area of fractional focus now?
This is the part that I probably try to get better at every single day. But I would say, like, I'm a data strategy expert who helps companies really enhance their processes, but perfect customer experiences and team experiences. I can help stand up teams. I can help get your reporting right. I can help turn your data into money. there's lots of problems that companies have that I can actually help with. And so that's where I try to lead with. Right now, I love focusing on customer experiences and customer friction and how you can use metrics to ensure a good experience. So that's kind of how I am describing myself, and that's how I'm finding my niche.
I have a feeling any conversations you have, that's probably your biggest challenge is trying to say, what can't I do for you more than anything? I think that's probably why even as successful as just an executive advisor, because you have your fingers in so many different pies. Compared to those full-time corporate roles, how does your day-to-day look different as a fractional executive?
This is going to be the saddest thing I tell you.
Oh, good. We need some tragedy here.
I'm like a super type A personality.
I would never have guessed that, Heather. This is completely foreign. I don't buy it. You make the case.
I am so Regem. You would like, I get up every single day and work out. Every single day, all 7 days. I just think getting your mind right, that's been my therapy my entire life. I've always needed some way. So every single day starts like that. I need my hour to myself to invest in myself. And I do that. But then, if I don't have client work to do that day, I am learning. I literally start at 9 o'clock because Jeff Bezos taught me something. Jeff Bezos talks about puttering, and he's like, doesn't like to start his day early. He always likes to start like 9, 10 o'clock. So in the morning, I putter, I read the news, I take my time getting ready, and my day starts at 9. But at 9 o'clock, I am learning, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm reading about something interesting, I'm playing around with ChatGPT or Google Gemini and trying to get my tasks to work. I'm learning all the time if I'm not working.
That's fascinating. I would not have guessed. You think about it like, oh, he must be working on this client, that client. But because of the way it lays out, you're able to actually expand that mind of yours, which, as I've said before, is like crazy sharp. But I have to imagine for a personality like yours and mine, that must be like heaven.
It is. It's like every day is the greatest day of my life. And I'm choosing, right? And my client, like I have really good clients, but like if I'm not spending my time with them, I probably sometimes over index, right? Like when you're getting started, been doing this for a little over a year, I'm getting better. I'll spend a lot of time researching their problems and trying to figure out solutions. I'm a big believer in giving them that little extra so you're really proving your value. I mean, that is super important to me. Like I coach customers all the time about understand why your clients are buying from you. Understand their metrics and what's important to them. I'm trying to make sure that I'm delivering that back to them in the same way. So I want to give them a little bit more than what they asked for.
Do you ever struggle going back and forth between clients?
It was super hard in the very beginning, but now context switching is much easier. I do try to organize them into days though, spending Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to spend with you, Tuesday, Thursday. So when I'm organizing contracts, I try to anchor in a day. It's easier for them in their own planning when they know I can consistently have your time for these time slots. But it's easier for me to also make sure that I can deliver what it needs to be done. So that part, super hard at first, but it's gotten easier.
Yeah, I imagine. Well, I have a feeling if I were to watch you on a day-to-day basis, I would learn a ton about how exactly to manage and deal with all of the details from moment to moment. I still want to talk about fractionalism for a second, but I want to change the direction just a little bit because these are some of the conversations you and I have had in detail about this. You've been a pretty close observer yourself of workforce trends, particularly in the Midwest, as we've talked about. What exactly has been your take on the evolution of middle management roles in St. Louis? It affects our whole world here, but I'd be curious for you to share with others some of the things you've told me.
Yep. I left my last company at the end of 23, but that summer I noticed that there was a massive shift in what was going on with companies in this market. There were beginning to be lots of layoffs, lots of talk of reducing and eliminating bureaucracy. And so I knew something strange was going on because there were friends of mine that it was taking them much longer than a year to get a role. And it was becoming evident that something was different. And so once I observed it in this market, then I started to take note to all the other places it's happening. We've had incredibly uncertain times, and businesses struggle with this kind of uncertainty over a long period. So I think they're not making decisions. Just like the article you posted the other day about dynamics of the market, I think people are staying in their roles if they can. And so there's all these things going on that are contributing to very qualified people being in the market and having to figure out what are you going to do? And I think we're at a crossroads, period.
Yeah, that's my take as well. And build on your point, as we tape today, this is taking place at the highest levels of our government, and it's all under the label of bureaucracy. Now, whether you believe that's the right thing to do or not, that seems to be part of the new ethos, right? It's, hey, we don't hire full-time people anymore because they cost more money, they require benefits, there's risk in letting them go. And then to your point, maybe we can be more efficient without them. But I know one of the concerns you've shared is that by getting rid of these seasoned managers, that the younger employees suffer and that the companies themselves suffer from the decision. Have I positioned your take on that correctly?
Yes, absolutely. When I started my career, like Anheuser-Busch, they invested so much in learning and development. They spent a lot of money on each head for learning and development. But I noticed over time, companies were spending less and less on the L&D per employee. They're not providing them the training maybe that they need. You can learn a lot on the job, but in very uncertain conditions, losing your manager, not really knowing how to communicate with a much higher level person in an organization, that can be really hard on people. And so this kind of mass elimination of the middle layer, managers are the ones that are doing a lot of the work, and directors are the ones doing a lot of work inside companies. These are the folks that are absorbing the multi jobs. There's leaving these gaps probably in the experience that won't just impact younger employees inside, any employee inside really, but also the customer experience is not going to be as good because you can't deliver that if you're going to have all these less people to do the thing.
Yeah, exactly. As a culture, we're still making our way through this upheaval. It is clearly not resolved, but there's no doubt that the thought right now is maybe I can backfill these people with the smarts of AI, or I can outsource to other countries, these other roles. And we're going through it. And for the purposes of our audience, this is one of the reasons, this is a key reason why this whole concept of fractionalism continues to expand, because as a workforce, it's increasingly uncertain that the source of jobs and full-time meaningful work is going to be provided to us, granted to us by a bigger organization. And so it's one of the reasons for this whole podcast is, if that's you, the smartest thing you can do is do a lot of what Heather's done, not just in terms of hanging up a shingle for herself, but being a never-ending learner, because I really think that's going to be super critical. Along the lines, however, this is interesting, for all the growth of fractionalism, having worked at large corporations yourself before going fractional, do you feel like companies are still going through an educational process? Or to what degree do you feel like companies are understanding the value of fractional talent?
I think they're going through that educational process. They're not thinking about it. My experience is this. People are coming to me because they have a problem that they needs to be solved. There's pain that exists. They want you to do the job to take it away. But they're not thinking about, I could create this long-term partnership with you and I could have you do this thing, but maybe there's 10 other things you really could do that are gaps inside my company, and I could keep you on board in a limited capacity and buy your time. I don't think they're thinking about it like that right now. I think that they will. I think they're going to get better at it. But I can tell you, very large companies, multi-billion-dollar companies have a really hard time with the concept. They have a hard time in the way they pay you. They have a hard time in the way they contract with you. Their requirements are super lofty. And so helping businesses that are really under $1 billion is the sweet spot because they tend to be more open-minded about you being an individual and thinking through this. So my hope is that I leave a lasting impression with each customer so that think about me in a long-term perspective, get to know me enough that they realize, oh, she can do all these things. We could have her help us with this.
That's really interesting. So in other words, part of your strategy isn't necessarily walk in and say, hey, before I start doing any work, you should be thinking about me for the long term. You're thinking go in, become indispensable, then start dropping that mention and start introducing them to that idea, which sounds like from your past, beating the bushes for work has not been crucial for you because you just keep getting repeat business again and again. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. I've had really good people that I've met in my network. There's going to come a time where I'm going to have to go get work, and that will be a new discovery for me. And I got to figure out the marketing stuff, right? And the sales stuff. But right now, I'm just trying to be more visible to my network, doing things that are not as familiar to me. Like, I'm not somebody who's like writing articles all the time and posting on LinkedIn. I'm forcing myself to do these things so people know who I am, so I can have the conversations, so I can build the clientele before I need them, so that I can be pinpointing pain points for people and the questions they're asking before I really need to go get that next block of work. Because that is the biggest scary thing about this line of work. It's like awesome because you're choosing every day. You're choosing your clients, right? You're working on thrilling stuff. You're solving big problems you maybe would never get to if you were just sitting inside a company. But I think knowing what that next role is, after a couple years, I think I won't worry so much. But I think I constantly am worried about it.
That brings me to my next topic. I've mentioned in other episodes, there's this tendency in our culture to not want to address the elephant in the room that we call doubt, right? I mean, instead, we get on shows like this and we say, hey, look at how easy it is to just become a successful fractional, or you fill in the blank for whatever that successful thing is. And I look at people like you, people who have had long, successful, proven careers, and they still get out here in solopreneur land and they're asking themselves, am I really good enough to do this? Did I make the right decision to leave full-time work? And the thing that blows my mind is having talked to you, and I view you as someone who has done very well at this, who is really getting zoned in on how to make this work for you in your life, that even you still struggle with doubt and imposter syndrome. If you don't mind, share with our audience a little bit about where that comes from.
I have a crippling fear that I'm not good enough. I have my entire life, ever since I was little. I feel like there's never enough that I can learn to be good enough. I set my bar for myself so incredibly high, and I forget often to celebrate the wins. I'm the person that will tell my team, celebrate the wins, be like really compassionate and caring about that, and then I will not do it for myself. I don't know what the source of it is. I think it's just I've been in a lot of situations in the work environment that are really hard. I've been in the middle of like the worst market conditions ever multiple times. I've had to be really, really scrappy and depend on myself. And so I think I always have a doubt, even with some of the clients that I have. Why do they have the belief that I can do this thing? And, I always have to take a step back and like, everybody is uniquely different in what we can deliver. And we need to be able to have the confidence that we can deliver something unique. And I think sometimes I surprise myself. I was sitting here the other day and doing something for my client. It was an analysis that nobody really done before. And I was just like, man, this is so freaking cool that I figured out how to do this. And not that I didn't have help, right? There's people partner in the company with the data and whatnot. But I think like there is something really special in the way that I can look at data and tell you a story about a company and also say, this is what you need to do. And I just know. I don't know why I know, but I just know. Addressing it for me, this has been something for the last over a year, I've been trying to really tackle. I try to solve it by learning more, staying abreast of the trends, reading a lot. There's not a lot of TV watching in my life. I do these things to make myself feel better. So I think, like, no matter what a person looks like on the outside or what their resume says, everyone probably has a little bit of the imposter syndrome at times. And I think it's a human nature thing.
You talk about you're always raising the bar for yourself. As a high achieving professional, do you think that is a strength or is it just exhausting? Would you rather have ignorance is bliss sometimes?
It's exhausting. I wish I didn't feel I need to do that all the time. Like last night, I wanted to learn how to do a carousel on LinkedIn. I'm like, how's everybody doing these on LinkedIn? I want to do that. I didn't have anything else. So I'm like, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to do this. So next week, I can post on LinkedIn and have a carousel. I wish that I didn't do that. I think there are times, though, to be totally honest, Andrew, when I go on vacation, I have a mandate in my life. I need to go on vacation at least 4 times a year. I started this years ago because though I love a spreadsheet, I really love vacation. I love going out and trying to do new things and exploring new places. And I love the beach, but I love to hike, be outside. So for me, that is my time to just be totally immersed in the situation and my family where nothing else is important. The work is not important. If we can develop things for ourselves where we give ourselves the off, if there's a point in my life where I feel like, man, I really made it and I, I don't need to do anything and like these things anymore, and I'm just like living on the beach in Costa Rica or something, maybe then I won't be so focused. But I think with my natural tendencies, learning's so important to me. I'll always have a high bar for myself. I hope there's a day that I can just own a coffee shop and talk to people about books and do coffee experiences. That's what I want to do.
I'll tell you what, start a podcast and start talking to really awesome people. There's a suggestion. I've had some really good success with it.
I should. And then we could start it off with your favorite coffee or something.
Oh, coffee. Don't worry. I got cold coffee all the time. If there's any other takeaway to have here for our audience, I would emphasize this. The conversations I've had with really accomplished people frequently include this conversation. So if you are out there feeling like, I've not done this before, and all these people on LinkedIn who are posing and posting and talking about how they've made $1 bazillion this month, and it can feel very daunting. All I can say is it's okay to feel that way. You don't have to feel ashamed of feeling that way, because whether we even want to feel that way or not, it just happens. But the one thing that I feel like I've seen and learned is it's okay to feel that way and yet still act, because that is the act of courageousness. Acting even when you know you have doubt. And that's okay. That's me on my soapbox. I'm hoping we can have a full-on episode about this topic because it's so prevalent in our space. Okay, so now that we've talked all about that, let's talk just kind of like where you see yourself going. Do you see yourself staying fractional long-term? Do you ever envision yourself going back to full-time?
I don't know. I don't know what the future holds. I do love my life right now, and I'm trying to give myself the grace to keep exploring it, even though there is fear and uncertainty in the future. When do I have to go get new work? And what is that going to be like? And how am I going to sell my stuff? I think about these things all the time, but I'm just trying not to rush it. I'm trying to do the first thing I probably have never done in my career is like really just enjoy every single day. I have a customer right now where I love the people on the team so darn much. Like they're so, so special. And what I'm doing for them is so unique. I'm like, gosh, there's like unlimited opportunity to help at this company. I could see something like that being a reason to stop doing this and then potentially go into help. But I don't know what the circumstances would be for that to make that right. I do really enjoy meeting new people, forcing myself into uncomfortable places daily. I like to keep exploring it as long as I can and sustain it. And so for me, there's no reason that I can't. I don't have a good reason why I can't keep doing this. And so I just tell myself, just like you said, it's okay to accept the fear and conquer the uncertainty. Try to do it and enjoy yourself. That is okay. That's what I'm trying to embrace, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Well, I will let that be the last word on the formal part of our program. And now I'm going to move us on to one of my favorite parts of our program, which is the lightning round of questionably fractional questions.
All right, I'm ready for it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, starting now. Heather, what is your one favorite piece of software, app, or technology? Something that you use all the time and you can't live without.
ChatGPT, literally the most fascinating thing I've ever experienced in my life. It's like my friend. I love it.
Good for you. I'm a big embracer myself. Okay, what is your favorite or most influential business book? I'm sorry, because I know you're going to have a hard time choosing one.
I'm going to pick the one. I just finished a book and it was really profound. The Effortless Experience. The book is about 10 years old, I think, but it's really about don't delight your customers. You should make sure that your customers can get their job done when they work with you and eliminate effort. This concept of eliminating effort, I think when the authors wrote this book, I don't know how relevant was it at the time, but I feel like today something is happening with customer experiences where they're just not as good as they used to be. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity in that. And the metrics in the book, the research, it's just so well done. I've really enjoyed reading it, and it'll be something that I recommend to a lot of people.
All right, you mentioned vacations and how much you love them. What was or is your favorite all-time vacation and or place to visit?
I went to Chichen Itza. Chichen Itza, the Mayan ruins, probably one of the most profound places I've ever been. Because think about back in time when they created these pyramids and these amazingly symmetric statues of humans in the ground. When they did that, the tools that were available, nothing like we have in modern times. It's just so fascinating what humans can do. And such a great reflection in Chichen Itza, there was a game that they used to play where they would kick this ball through this tiny little, think of it as like old school basketball, but it was this big metal or big like rock thing up in the sky. These were short, the Mayans were shorter than we are today. When you're sitting down there and you're looking how far that ball had to go, you're like, how is it even possible they got this done? I think these ancient civilizations and cultures are so fascinating. And that is a place that just was remarkable for me to visit with my family.
I am not surprised. I have a feeling that lit up every neuron in your particular brain. All right. If you could go back in time, what profession would you have loved to attempt, whether you were successful at it or not?
I wish I would have known about this as a kid. I would have been a neuroscientist.
Oh, man. I have a feeling you'd been awesome at that. Look, I don't know what your manual dexterity is. I mean, I don't know about that. I have a feeling you could have learned it, though.
How people work and how they tick is just so fascinating to me. I love to watch people. I feel like I could have just done amazing things if I was a neuroscientist.
Well, hey, there's always time. There's always time to pivot again. All right. This one's not a deep question at all.
Okay.
What is the best piece of advice you've ever received? Or, failing that, the most important lesson you've ever learned in your life?
This is so easy because it happened when I was at Anheuser-Busch. I was an auditor. I had this amazing mentor. Her name is Pamela Westbrooks. She was the sharpest dressed woman in the workplace I had ever seen. And man, did she give me an appreciation for a blazer. It changed my life. It changed my life. To this day, my closet is full of blazers and I wear them all the time. It is 100% because of Pamela Westbrooks and just how much confidence she had. She was so poised and professional all the time. I wanted to be just like her when I worked with her. And I feel a different confidence when I put on a blazer.
The value of dress for success. Okay. All right. Here's the last one. Heather, where can people learn more about you and your work?
You can learn more about me on LinkedIn. Certainly, you can get me there. And then also, I have a website. My company is called Ascend Growth Strategies, and you can get there at www.ascendgsllc.com. So that's how you can get me.
Heather, thank you very much. You have been a delightful guest. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of another edition of Wholly Fractional. I want to thank our guest, Heather Leek, for appearing on the show today. I also want to thank the world's best podcast producer and my partner in part-time, Todd Hines, for making this journey with me. And finally, a big thanks to our listeners for joining us today. So until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay fractional.